1. I feel obliged to mention this happened in my youth, but I still feel the FU and assume I always will. It was 1993. California was experiencing a hotter summer than usual, while me and the neighborhood kids played water warfare. As my mother pulled into the driveway after having been grocery shopping, I found myself dry and wishing I was not so good at avoiding the other team's water attacks. My mother always brings a treat back from shopping for her kids to enjoy, so I decided to suicide myself and allow my friends to soak me. Imagine the scene from Boondock Saints where Defoe's character yells, "There was a firefight." Dripping like a wet dog, I scampered up to my mom, who knew what I was hoping for, and told me the treats are in the van. Now, I'll mention the fact that the treats are never the same, but usually is a piece of chocolate candy. Little me had no chance to avoid the scarring event that would change me forever. The back hatch of the van was still open, and as I walked up to it, I feverishly looked for my treat like a junkie. It wasn't until I lifted the false flooring that hides the spare tire that I found a single piece of chocolate wafer still in its wrapper. I can still remember thinking to myself, "Ha ha! Thought you could hide it, did you?" I ripped that chocolate open and ate half of it in one big bite. It was gross. It was warm. It tasted not like chocolate, but like something else I couldn't quite put my finger on. Until I looked at the rest of it, clutched in my tiny little hand. The inside of it was practically only maggots. They hollowed out the chocolate and made it their home. As I watched them wriggle, I started to feel them moving in my mouth as I chewed the giant choco maggot mess. Instant vomit, instant tears, instant regret. My mom comes running out of the house as my friends stop their war to come see the show. Turns out my mother's treat was the blue raspberry icy sitting in the front cup holder. What I thought was my treat was actually a chocolate candy left forgotten about since last Halloween, almost 10 months prior. I was inconsolable. My favorite treat had betrayed me, and I remember running inside the house, throwing the last chunk of maggot surprise into the sink, where I stoically watched the surviving creeps wriggle and squirm as I contemplated the horror. Flash forward to any time I interact with warm, melted chocolate. Although even fresh chocolate gives me mild goosebumps, I get nauseous and sweaty and feel like I need to get away. It took a while before I could even smell chocolate without dry heaving. It's interesting how one life experience can shape the weirdo I would become. 2. This actually happened about 3 years ago now, when I was in my first year of university. I'd gone to a friend's place for pre-drinks one night, and had a good couple of hours drinking. I wasn't smashed, but I was pretty drunk as we left to walk into the city center. As we were leaving, a guy handed me a near enough full bottle of expensive vodka, and as we walked into town, I drank quite a lot of straight vodka while passing it around the group of us. From this point on, I don't remember anything, so it's what I've managed to piece together. In the city center, there are cobblestones, which I badly sprained my very weak ankle and got a deep cut in my hand that bled a lot on. We queued for the club regardless, but when we got to the front, my friend who had helped me get there was asked why his hands were all red, to which he replied, "I had a beetroot salad before I came out." Strangely enough, the bouncers didn't believe him and wouldn't let a hobbling drunk prick into the club, so he helped me get a taxi home and put me to bed. This was around 11:15 p.m. After putting me to bed, my friend went to a bar on campus, then came home and knocked on my door with a couple of others to ask if I wanted to smoke a joint. I went and opened the door, but walked straight to the other side of my room, stood by my desk, and whipped out my cock to take a piss over my desk, directly where my thankfully closed laptop was. The others tried to stop me, but I just waved them away, slurring something. When I woke up in the morning, I had no recollection of what had happened the previous night, and why my ankle hurt so much. Then, when I stood up, my toilet door was covered in blood, as was my room's door. And as I went into the corridor, blood was smeared all down the corridor, and I freaked the fuck out. I went back into my room and thought I'd watch some YouTube and calm down, and as I sat there, I put my hand in some water and realized there was some on my laptop as well. I grabbed a tea towel and wiped it off, no big deal. It was only water. I smelt my hand and it smelt fucked up, so I washed them. But it wasn't for a while after that when I learned it was my own piss. 3. No dogs were harmed in the telling of this disaster. This happened this morning, but it all started last night. I am keeping an eye on my best friend's neighbor's dogs, part of this weekend, Saturday night and Sunday morning. They have 2 large labs, Abe and Lincoln, that stay in the backyard that I've watched many times while they've been out of town or on vacation. They also just adopted a new little house dog, Milton, that I've never watched before. Normally I would have just kept Milton at our house, but our newborn has a few health concerns, so I didn't want any added risks. And he's fully crate trained, and I thought, no biggie. All is going well. I go over and feed, water, have a little playtime, and then head back home to get ready for poker night with the guys. No sweat. Poker night is a good time. A little too good. See, I play cards better when I'm loosened up, and vodka loosens me up real nice. Half a liter of Tito's, in the form of several spicy Bloody Marys. Later, it's time to collect my winnings and hit the hay. I hit my pillow and slept like a baby. 6 a.m. this morning is when shit goes south. My daughter wakes up and the wife gets up to feed her. She hears me rustle around, so she casually asks me, "I forgot to ask you last night, how is Milton?" Instant panic, I say out loud, "Mother of God, I forgot about Milton!" I had taken care of the big dog so many times, but never little Milton. I had completely forgotten about him, since I always go through the side yard to get to the boys in the back. I'm out of bed in a flash, throw on some shorts, a t-shirt, and my flip-flops in about 3 seconds, and I'm headed across the street in a hustle, just praying little Milton is okay. I'm envisioning a shaking little terrified pupper, in a mess of his own waste at best, and dead at worst. That's when the pain hit me. The spicy Bloody Marys I had put in my body the previous night wanted out. But they were going to have to wait. I'm standing at my neighbor's garage and in a state of panic. I cannot remember the garage door code. The same code I've used 100 times. Shit, fuck, shit. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. I have to piss so badly. I can't take it. So I head to the corner where their fence meets the garage to piss as fast as I can before heading back to calm down and open the door. Now, I think we all know that when you need to piss in a hurry, a little extra force can be applied to speed the process along. Well, I'm in a super giant fucking mad rush, because for all I know there's a poor little dying dog trapped in that house that I was responsible for. So I'm putting out more than a little extra pressure. I'm pissing with the force of a fire hose. That's when it happens. The vodka, spicy Bloody Mary mix, which had been knocking at the back door, felt that force and made its move. I, a 34-year-old man, of sound mind and body, shit my pants. We're not talking about a little shart here. I full-on filled my boxers with wet, hot, spicy diarrhea. In the blink of an eye, I had to decide what kind of person I was going to be. And I made my decision. If the dog was dead, I couldn't undo that. And if he was alive and covered in his own filth, well, he was no worse off than I was now. So I clench up and start speed-waddling my nasty ass back across the street. When I bust in through the garage entrance, my wife is feeding our daughter her bottle, sees the look of panic on my face, and assumes the worst that she could imagine. "Oh God, Milton's dead!" I never stopped waddling. I just screamed, "Don't look at me!" and headed for the bathroom. I stripped my clothes off in a pile and jumped straight into the shower. I didn't even wait on it to warm up, because, fuck me, I'm a terrible person who might have committed dog slaughter, and I don't deserve hot water. I wash my filthy ass at a fevered pace, jump out, dry off, and hurriedly put on some fresh clothes. Then it hits me again, round 2. I do the shitty walk back to the bathroom, and luckily get my ass cheeks on the toilet just in time. Thank God. My wife knocks on the door and asks, "What the fuck is going on?" And I just scream, "Go away, please. I'll tell you in a minute." So I'm sitting there between the intermittent lava flows and realize I have the garage door code in the notes of my friend's contact info, just in case I ever forgot it. So I stretch out my leg to reach my shitty shorts, drag them over to me, and dig out my cell phone. Bingo, there it is. Now to finish up and go deal with whatever awaits me, like a man. Nope, wave 3 hits. Jesus, please let it end. It wasn't as bad as the first 2, just the last remnants of the storm that was. But nevertheless, it takes a few minutes before I'm sure it's over. So I open my text messages and start to type out a draft to my friends of what I've done just in case I can't get up the nerve to call them. That's when I see it. The last message they sent. I had only skimmed it, and missed this detail in the main body. Milton is going to Bob and Susan's, the husband's parents, so you only need to take care of Abe and Lincoln. I've never felt such relief in my life. Seriously, I can't describe it. I mean, I didn't even know how I was going to tell my dearest friends I'd neglected and possibly killed their poor little dog. And now, no one ever need know of my shame. Oh wait, my wife, fuck. How am I going to explain all this to her? Well, I didn't actually kill anything. So I just walked out and explained everything. It's a good thing she'd laid the baby back down because she was in fucking tears laughing at me. Thanks, life partner. Thanks. But wait, folks, it's not over yet. I walk back to the bathroom, put my shitty boxers and shorts in a couple of large Ziploc bags, and haul them to the dumpster. When I walk back inside, my wife points and says, "You need to deal with that." There it was, just staring at me. A perfect little light brown Hershey kiss on the rug. It had plopped out on my way to the bathroom. Jesus Christ. So I get the carpet cleaner and get busy. I then go on a turd hunt and backtrack to make sure I hadn't left any more surprises along my trail of tears, but alas, I finally caught a break and there weren't any more kisses to be found. It was finally over. I haven't spoken out loud very much this morning, and I can't maintain eye contact with my wife at the moment. So I'm sitting on the back porch with a cup of coffee and sharing my horror story with the only ones I can. The internet. My only hope is that there is someone out there who was having what they thought was a shitty day, pun fully intended, who reads this and realizes that maybe they didn't have it as bad as I did this morning, and it brings a little laughter to their day. 4. This actually happened almost 20 years ago. This was back when Kia sold cars only in the Pacific Northwest. I had a 1994 Kia Sophia to sell. However, I had moved from Oregon to Louisiana for my job. And in Louisiana, the make and model were essentially unknown. I placed a classified ad in the local newspaper, over the phone. I ended up saying a Kia, rather than Kia. I probably told them I had a Kia to sell. I had no idea at the time, but a Kia apparently is code for a Klansman I am. The people who responded to the ad at first seemed excited, and several asked weird things like, "Are you the one selling the Ayak?" To which I would reply, "A what? No, I'm selling a Kia Sophia." I learned years later my answer was essentially exactly how a clansman was supposed to respond, in a call and response code. Ayak being code for "Are you a clansman?" The calls would go on for 2 days. The caller would either become upset and angry at me when they thought we got past the code, but then I'd refuse to tell them what kind of car I was selling, with me repeating, "It's a Kia Sophia," and them asking, "Is it a Toyota or what?" And me saying over and over, "No, it's a Kia." Or the callers would assume I was never selling a car in the first place, and I had just placed the ad trying to make contacts. So they'd keep talking to me about things other than the car. I fielded a full week of angry, hateful phone calls like that, even after I'd sold the car, which didn't seem to matter to most of the callers. I ended up selling the car to a big, scary guy who kept talking about the damn N-words. I tried to just talk about the car, but I was scared shitless the whole time as he went on and on. I'm pretty sure the only reason he came out to look at the car at all was entirely because of my use of inadvertent KKK code words in the ad. It was one of the most frightening weeks of my life, and at the time I had no idea why. As a naive guy from Portland, I just assumed this was what Louisiana was like. This happening within a few weeks of me moving there. It set the tone for my time there and was a big part of why I quickly started looking for a new job, as far away from Louisiana as I could. One which I ended up taking with a not insignificant pay cut. 5. Alrighty, I shared my second most embarrassing moment with you. Some would say unsuspecting. People, aka the epic fart on the elevator TIFU. Now I will share with you my most embarrassing moment. The dreaded Verizon store incident. I still shudder from the memory, as do many others. God, I can still hear the cries from all the children. For you to understand the reasoning behind the shocking series of events, I will have to fill in a bit of backstory, yes. I know. But I promise to make it as short as possible. In October of the year 2008, I received a text from my first wife. She had been rather aloof and argumentative for about a year. The text basically said she had been living a lie her entire life, and she couldn't take it anymore. She had come out as being a homosexual and was leaving me for another woman. Yep, I didn't see that one coming. Not even with night vision binoculars, anyway. I left work and GTA'd it all the way home. I soon discovered that all her stuff was gone and I was alone. Tears were shed and loneliness enveloped me like a cold, dark emptiness. For exactly 2 weeks. It was then I discovered that I was a free man, and I could do damn well what I wanted, when I wanted. So, it was time to party. Partay. Woo! Then I looked in the mirror. Oh boy. You see, dear reader, there is a magical thing called marriage weight that creeps up on you like Ebola, with a really bad attitude. Being married to the same woman for 10 years, some things are critical to a good solid marriage, while other things usually slide to the wayside. And my belly was sliding to the wayside like a river raft when one pulls the ripcord. In other words, I was fat, hugely fat. Fat like on a particularly good piece of bacon. You know that wobbly bit of white chewing gum like fat that hangs on the side? If I were to catch fire, I would have burned like an out-of-control tire fire for days. Oh, would I bubble. This would not do, so I decided to lose all that extra bit of me before I proudly went forth to sow my loins. I had a really good exercise bike in a spare room that I, obviously, never used. And diet. Oh yeah, I had to diet too. You see, I was in the mindset that dictated me getting new cuddle time with a gal as soon as humanly possible. So I put myself on a crash diet to boot. 800 to 900 calories a day, tops. Combine that with a minimum of 7 miles a day on the exercise bike, and I had a plan. It wasn't easy. In fact, it was really, really damn hard. But I was determined to get in my cuddles come hell or high water, so lose weight I did. I lost about 60 pounds in 6 months, and got back down to my pre-marriage weight of 170 pounds. Hurrah! Goodbye man boobs. When I achieved my target, I began to groom myself for the cuddles that were sure to come. I was back on the market, baby. Fathers, hide your daughters because I'm coming in like a cruise missile. Cuddles would be had. I needed to redo myself. One can attract more flies with honey than with vinegar, goes the saying. Honestly, I always thought that saying was a bit false. Shit would obviously work better than honey. You could attract all kinds of ants with honey. Not many flies, but I digress. I needed to redo myself to make me more like shit, or honey, or whatever. I just needed serious cuddle times, damn it. I got a new hairstyle, new beard, new everything. My clothes were hanging off me like a wet beach towel with lots of sand. But with my ex gone and not paying half the bills, I had to wait on that for a little while. The new me was almost complete. Mwahaha. Seriously, dads, hide your daughters. The cuddler is coming to town. Let the cuddling begin. Shortly after I had lost the weight, I dropped my cell phone and cracked the outside lens. For those of you who don't remember, 2009 was pretty much the year the very first touchscreen phones came to the market. Unfortunately, I did not have one. I had the simple flip phone with the little LED screen on the outside. It may be laughable now, but back then I was pimpin' hard with that phone, and I didn't want it to be cracked. My ex was still paying for my phone and would soon kick me off her plan. I wanted my cracked phone to be fixed before I got a new plan for myself, which meant I would have to go to my local Verizon store and have them fix it. The deadline for this was looming closer, so I was motivated to get to the store quickly. The day of reckoning was a gloomy, overcast Sunday. I had just taken a shower and, upon drying myself off, discovered I did not have much in the way of clean clothes. I did have a pair of old blue jeans and an old t-shirt, so on they went. When I checked my dresser, I found only one clean sock and no underwear. Damn. Looks like I got a free bullet today, I thought to myself, no biggie. I'd do laundry when I returned home from the Verizon store. So off I went. When I arrived at the Verizon store, I found the place to be teeming with people. What the hell? I've never seen this store as fully packed as it was when I pulled in. All of the parking places were taken, and I had to slowly roll around the store parking lot, waiting for a spot to open like a disheveled pedophile trolling an elementary school. My heart fell even lower when I went inside. There must have been well over 100 people packed in there. I mean it. There were men, women, children of all ages milling about. The line wait monitor showed over an hour for me to be able to see someone behind the counter. Damn it all to hell. I hate waiting. I hate it. But I was determined to get my phone fixed before my ex kicked me off her plan, so yeah. I put my name in on the waiting list and waited. Lord, was I bored. And the constant bumping into people was getting on my nerves. The children were especially annoying with all of their yelling, screaming, and running around the store like kids playing in Sherwood Forest. Ugh. I had to stay calm and be strong. My phone will be fixed. I demand it. Thou shalt not walk around with a cracked phone. I simply wouldn't have it. How little did I know then what was coming. If I had known, I'd have fled like a baby seal fleeing a club-wielding hunter on an ice pack. Oh, the nightmares. The PTSD, the soul-crushing memory, still brings tears to my eyes. After some time, I managed to slip myself into the crowd, viewing these newfangled touchscreen phones. I am a tech junkie, and these devices were relevant to my interests. Plus, I was bored on a level that would surely result in my imminent death. So I wormed and forced my way through the throngs of bodies like a highly motivated sperm to an egg. I was a little warrior of curiosity. I stepped on a few toes, which resulted in a cascade of, "Hey," and "What are you doing?" and "Watch where you're going." Pfft. I had new tech to discover. I didn't have time to apologize or change my direction. If a few phalanges were crushed, then so be it. It was in the name of science. I must see, know, experience these new devices, come hell or high water. A screen that responded to a mere touch? Magic! Sorcery! I must discover this. Out of my way, damn you! Science is coming through. After a few awkward moments of me lightly assaulting the crowd, I finally made it to the kiosk which held these devices of lore. It was situated very near the center of the sales area, right smack dab in the middle of all the people. Everyone near me was oohing and eyeing the new phones, so I had to patiently wait my turn to eagerly handle them. Patience is not a virtue of mine. I've made being impatient into an exquisite art form. Eventually, I was able to get a hold of one of these delights for myself. I was amazed at how these things worked and how complex they were. You can do anything with these things. I quickly erected a raging boner while holding this phone. New tech always does this to me. While some of you may question my sexual reaction to new technology as being perverted or intensely mad, I have no problem with this, for I am Borg. Resistance is futile. After some time examining the device, I noticed the one next to it was much larger, which in my mind is like a woman having larger boobs. I must fondle and explore. The phones were connected to the kiosk with a thin wire cable that would reel in and out while keeping the device secured to the kiosk. As I was placing the phone back into its cradle, I suddenly felt a slight pop from around my waist area, then a cool breeze. It was actually quite comfortable, come to think of it. The place was heating up with all these people around me. The heat from their bodies and breath was starting to make me sweat. The coolness was rather pleasant and appreciated. That was until I heard a little girl no more than 4 years old, standing right next to me, say loudly, "Look, Mommy, that man is naked!" I then heard people snickering and gasping in shock around me. I then heard another woman say something like, "Oh my God!" Then a male shout, "Dude!" Then lots of laughter and lots of laughter. Now, to help you understand, I was in the middle of ogling these new phones, my mind reeling from the amazingness of them and enjoying the cool breeze on my nethers. I wasn't exactly paying any attention to the world around me. However, my mind began to put the pieces together, and a thought started to form. "Look down, you stupid motherfucker!" I slowly looked down at myself, and a dark realization dawned on me. 1. I wasn't thinking clearly about that wonderful cool breeze on my nethers. Where exactly did it come from? 2. My raging hard-on was still in full effect, so much so that the tip was lightly dancing on the edge of the kiosk cabinet in front of me. 3. My grossly overly large jeans were currently laying on the floor around my ankles like a discarded foreskin. I don't know how to say this, but I was stunned into submission. Honest, my mind just would not believe what my eyes were telling it. In fact, if my eyes had arms and hands, they would probably have been busy slapping the holy hell out of my stalled brain, cursing all the while. I blinked. Surely this couldn't be happening, can it? The depth of humiliation wasn't humanly possible. Was it? Was this a terrible, terrible dream from my subconscious? Was this real? Unfortunately, dear reader, it was real. I found myself standing in the middle of a packed Verizon store, completely naked from the waist down, with my rigid, veiny intruder lightly caressing the side of the kiosk while holding a new touchscreen phone. Dear God, the humanity. Once again, my life flashed before my eyes, the epic fart on the elevator incident, and now this. Full public nudity, with children all around me. Oh, dear God. Dear God. In a blur of motion, I released the phone, which whirled loudly back into its cradle like a gunshot, bent over and pulled up my traitorous jeans to cover up my humiliation. It was only then that I discovered my belt had snapped. I had poked new holes in it because of my massive weight loss. The holes had weakened the structural integrity of the belt, and the current hole just couldn't hold the strain any longer. So, down she went. I was too stunned to even attempt to say something, anything about what had just happened. I was a deer in headlights, staring off into the distance. I swear I think my soul tried to leave my body again. I could have sworn I saw the scene from above, me in the middle looking highly perplexed and confused with throngs of surviving witnesses all around me. I just knew I was going to jail for this. I'm no lawyer, but I'm sure exposing oneself in public was a huge legal no-no. People were crowded all around me. They saw everything. Every nook and cranny of my personal zone. My flexing butt cheeks, my boys hanging there, swinging in the cold breeze, and my stiffy still showing its excitement and still pointing at the phones. There was no escape. Boy, howdy was I about to be in for it. Damn jeans, traitorous, loose-fitting fabric from hell. Much to my shock and surprise, the crowd didn't react in hysterical anger. At all. Oh no, that would have been too easy. No, they did something much, much worse than accusing me of this travesty. They laughed and applauded me. Loudly, some whistled, and others yelled, "Hell yeah!" Even the small, now uninnocent children around me were laughing and clapping. Dear God up in heaven, this was so much worse. The reaction was like putting a glass lens above an ant and eagerly watching as the ant smoked, then caught fire. The fire burned right into my very soul, forever imprinting the humiliation on my psyche. Never to be forgotten. So I did what any man would do in this situation. I stiffened my back, stood straight, and took a bow. Yep, sure did. One hand balling up my oversized jeans to keep them from falling again, and the other hand making long, fluid, graceful gestures of appreciation. This made the crowd applaud even louder. Oh, they thought it was damn funny, while I was slowly dying inside. I was done here. I was so fucking done here. Screw the damned phone. I was out of here. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, still clapping on either side as I walked past. I was desperately trying to sew the tatters of my dignity together as I smiled and waved. One girl high-fived me. I finally opened the door to exit the building, and their raucous laughter could easily be heard outside in the parking lot. Because my jeans were so large on me, I didn't dare take my hand off of them, lest they fall once again. Walking naked with pants around your ankles in a parking lot was most undignified, to say the least. So I kept a death grip on them. Fumbling around trying to get my keys out was hair-raising a couple of times. But I managed to retrieve them and get my ass into the car, where I cried for a minute, head rolling on the steering wheel, while asking God what I had done again to deserve this. I started the car and backed up while spectators continued to laugh and wave at me as they spilled out into the parking lot, as if to congratulate a hero coming home. Fuck me running, man. Obviously, I needed a new belt, so off to the local Target store to buy a new one. Once again, I had to stroll through the store with my jeans wadded up in my hand to keep them from falling. I found the belts in the men's section and spent some time finding the correct size belt one-handed. I got to the checkout lane and paid for the belt one-handed as well. Damn near lost control of my jeans again as I was trying to get my wallet out. If the jeans had fallen for a second time, I swear to God himself, I would have dried up like the scene from the first Indiana Jones movie, and fallen to the ground, a withered, dry husk of embarrassment. Once I returned to my car, I spent some time trying to remove the broken remnants of my old belt and replace it with the new one. Not an easy task. As soon as I got home, I started my laundry with a vengeance. Thus, dear reader, ends the most embarrassing moment of my life. And here I thought the epic fart in the elevator was bad enough. I managed to top even that. This story is 100% true, although I wish to God it wasn't. I never showed my face in that particular Verizon store again, and to this day, I make damn sure my belt is in good working order before I go out. And in case you're wondering, I did buy a whole new wardrobe soon after this incident, and I looked damn good too in my new duds. So good that I married the most incredible woman I've ever met, and now have two beautiful daughters that I couldn't be more proud of. If there is a moral to this story, it would be this. Make sure you always have clean underwear before you go out, especially if you've lost a ton of weight recently, because the possibility of you going through this hell on earth will be truly evident. I'm not saying this will happen to you, but if it does, years of life will be shaved off of your time here on Earth. Trust me on this. Just trust me. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here. Thank you very much for listening to 5 True Embarrassing Stories, episode 20. Before we go on, of course, I would just like to say thank you very much to everyone who's allowed me to use their stories, and a big thanks to the author of the last story for sharing what had to be a very humiliating and scarring experience. It is very much appreciated, my friend. Also, before I go on, I'll just point out that for the few people who have been asking, TIFU stands for Today I Fucked Up. It's actually the name of a subreddit where I get most of these stories from. Most, but not all. I'm fortunate some people actually sent them to me as well. I'm going to have to cut this outro short, I'm afraid, because this is Friday, and Friday is always a super duper busy day for making videos for me, because I basically spend the whole day making them, so I can free up my weekend for other things. Some important, some not so important. Okay, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.